Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Top 5 Friday. So every week we get together on a Friday and we look at the top 5 something to do with Blood Bowl. And this week we've got a list that a lot of people have requested actually. So top 5 teams for beginners. Now we are all essentially new to Blood Bowl 2020. Sure, some of us have got like 20 games in. There will be some players who've got way more than that. But actually compared to the thousands of games that everyone's played beforehand, we're pretty new to the format. So there's gonna be a huge amount of excitement about this new edition. We've seen it already, and when the world reopens proper, we're gonna see it more. So introducing fellow gamers or non-gamers to the hobby, to Blood Bowl, what teams would you recommend for new starters? So I put a post down on social medias a week or so ago and asked for your recommendations, and what we're going to do is I'm going to go through my top 5, then I've collated all of yours, given them scores and everything, and broke them down, and we'll look at your top 5 and find out just how wrong I am. Number 5, Chaos Chosen. So, hear me out. I know they've got no skills at all, but one really great advantage of the Chaos team is there's 2 positionals, really. You can throw a big guy in there, and let's rephrase that. You can also throw a big guy in there, and big guys are one of the most exciting parts of Blood Bowl. I do have a Minotaur right there, but Chaos Chosen, you've got the Beastman. The Beastman has Edge 3+, okay? That's kind of like the baseline. They've got good armor, and with Horns, which is 1 skill, remember, on all of these players here, 1 skill total. So it is useful for understanding strength because you've got strength 4 blockers. It's useful for understanding strength because you've got horns as well. That's also a really good way to teach somebody what the blitz action does. So I recommend Chaos Chosen for new players because there is a ton of murdering to do with this team, but you don't actually take an agility hit at all. Everybody's Edge 3+. You're going to be able to afford rerolls, and if you want to spice the roster up, you can take a Minotaur, or an Ogre, or a Troll, depending on how that player plays. So I like Chaos Chosen to bring somebody in. It's a consistent team. It's a strong team. You're going to have fun with it. They're going to pull off shenanigans, and they're going to be able to beat you up. If you are teaching them a new game, you need them to be able to survive, to do stuff, so good armor, good strength, do stuff, good agility, and kind of win a little bit, even if it's not about the scoring, and that's okay. But actually this team is going to hurt some of your players, and as everybody knows, that's one of the most exciting things about Blood Bowl, is removing your opponents. So yes, Chaos Chosen doesn't have block, doesn't have dodge, doesn't have sure hands, doesn't have a lot of the key elements, but it has the core mechanics, all of the actions, all of the blocking, all of the ball picking up. It's way easier to introduce dodge, to be like, yeah, you just get a free reroll to dodge. Oh, that's really useful because I had to use my team rerolls for chaos. Now we've seen a bunch of guys come into the club and pick up chaos because they look cool, because they're exciting. And you know what? That is probably enough. Number 4, I've got the Undead team. So this one is an interesting one. I think Undead probably, I feel like a lot of people suggested the Undead team, and I've seen it work brilliantly. I've also seen it work really badly. Good Guy Lewis had the Undead team and ran it for a couple of seasons at League, and didn't win a single game. Then he went to a tournament and 3-0'd the tournament and won, won the tournament. So it's interesting. Undead, the advantage of an Undead team for a new player is, like we said, you've got that resilience, okay? Everybody's got good armor or good strength or has regeneration. Now, there's slightly more positionals in this team than others, but because you're building the list, you can drop the difference. You can drop a skeleton and just have zombies to keep it a little bit easier. But what this team does have, and can be really important when you're teaching somebody the game from new, you've got 2 blitzers that have block. You've got the ghouls that have dodge. You've got the mummies that have strength 5 and mighty blow, because let's face it, mighty blow is a really important part of the game as well. And you've got a bunch of chaff linemen who have bad agility. Now your wights and your ghouls have good agility and the rest of the team doesn't. So you also have to teach that balancing element. New starters to Blood Bowl are going to want to kind of manhandle the ball a little bit and, generally speaking, stand up to their opponent and murder things. 2 block, 2 mummies are really going to help with that. So I like the Undead as a new team. It is slightly more complicated than perhaps some other teams, but it's Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl's not that complicated. And as long as you've got a really easy way of saying, these are the Blitzers, they're really good. These are the Mummies, they're really strong. These are the Ghouls, they're really fast. Asterix, faster than average. And the linemen are rubbish. Your new player is going to have a great time. They're not going to get destroyed. They are going to destroy you. Orcs, Orcs, Orcs at number 3. So the classic beginner team from 2nd edition and 3rd edition. And 4th edition, if you think about it that way. So anyway, we've got the Orc team. Now, the Orc team has animosity now, which is a bit of a nuisance. So I would recommend, if you're training somebody up, if you're teaching Blood Bowl, ignore animosity perhaps for the first game. Or just talk about it when it comes up. I don't mind animosity as a blanket rule. The difficult thing with the Orcs team is that it's sometimes this person doesn't like this person, and this person doesn't like these people, but these people are fine with those people unless they're this person. Just a bit messy. If everybody had animosity, that would be really fine. But the beautiful thing about the Orc team is you get everything, okay? You get linemen who are underrated, okay? They can do a bunch of stuff. They're slow, they're movement 5, that's fine, but they're still edge 3 plus. They're still strength 3 and they're armor 10. So everything we just talked about still applies to the Orc team. They're resilient, okay? Even your linemen. Everybody has got really good armor, so they're going to get a really good experience of playing a tough team. Like, my Orcs are really tough, they're really strong. They're not as fast as other teams, but I've got 4 big and blockers at strength 4. I've got 4 blitzers with block and armor 17. Like, you are going to be able to deploy a really strong force, and because the majority of the team doesn't actually have an edge disadvantage, they're going to have a good opportunity to actually do stuff. And I think the reason the Orcs are rated so high always for beginner teams is they've also got sure hands. And you can take a Goblin if you want to teach about dodge, to teach about stunty, and you can take a Troll if you want to, and teach about big guys. The negative side here of the Orc roster is that there can be a lot of different player types, okay? Goblin, Lineman, Black Orc, Thrower, Blitzer, Troll. Okay, potentially 6 different player types. But Orcs are really good. And that is probably another really important thing here, is they're really good at basically everything. Okay, they're not super fast, sure, their pass game is average at best, but they're super good at picking up the ball and moving it, and they're super good at maiming your opponent. And you do have the opportunity to chuck in a Goblin here to teach your new opponent about dodge and stunty and how to maneuver and the joys of stunty teams. So the Orc team has always been solid, and I think even though the animosity thing is in there, it still is. Number 2, I've got the Dark Elf team. I love Dark Elves. I know I shouldn't. Now, Dark Elves are a really interesting team. I used Dark Elves to teach Tiff how to play Blood Bowl. Partly because I've sort of said, hey, here's a bunch of teams, choose the one you like the most. She liked Dark Elves, I painted them purple, everyone was happy. But the cool thing about Dark Elves is you get all the bonuses of Edge 2+, with very little of the negative element of it, okay? You don't have low armor, you don't have to give up strength, and you don't have to give up block. You do miss out on starting skills, and the runner has got a little bit better, but it's still not amazing, okay? But you don't need that. You can run a Dark Elf team with blitzers and with linemen, and you can teach almost everything about Blood Bowl. You've got a ton of block. This team has got good armor. Not great armor, but good armor. They're gonna survive. They may lose a player. That's brilliant, okay? But with 4 blitzers, you're likely to lose a player as well. And you can throw the Witch Elf in there for some advanced play, for frenzy, for dodge, you know. They've got a great mix of skills. But Edge 2+ is going to help give that new player that kind of superiority element, okay? It's like, right, I'm running Orcs, you're running Dark Elves. My guys are stronger, your guys have got better agility. And that's what we're going to see throughout this game, is you guys have got block here, my guys have got block here, but these guys are strength 4, yours are strength 3. So I'm going to have 2 dice, okay, but you've got block. So if I roll both down, your blitzer still nuts my guy. It's great. And when the ball comes into effect, the Dark Elves being able to do that 2+ pickup is going to be awesome for a new player. And it's a great way to teach dodging. I guess it's most importantly a great way to teach the value of not rolling ones. And I think you'll all appreciate that in Blood Bowl, that's probably one of the first things we all learn, is that ones happen way more than you think. They don't really, they just feel like they do. And Dark Elves are going to be a really good way to kind of learn that experience. Dark Elves are top tier, okay? They got nerfed a little bit from a passing point of view, but they are still able to do stuff. Teaching passing may be a bit difficult. If you've got a runner, that 3+ quick pass is going to be good, but actually new players probably need to learn that passing is not always the best option. It's a stretch play. Control the ground, position, battle, dodge. Those are sound like the guy from Dodgeball now. Dark Elves are going to allow that player to do that without getting completely maimed, and definitely have that really exciting edge advantage. So it does depend on the player type. Are you going to want to bash? Are you going to want to dash? If they want to dash more, there may be a different elf team that works for you. But to give them that edge 2+ experience while still being able to compete, Dark Elves for me, number 2. And number 1, it's the human team. I know a lot of you are not going to be surprised by this. If any of you saw the comments on any of the threads, you'll know that humans were the number 1 selected team, I think, ever. Alright, it's like, what's a good new team for humans? Okay, what's a good humans? Okay, what's your favourite humans? Okay, everyone loves humans, which is amusing, because if you look at the internet, it really feels like everyone does not like humans. And potentially that's the right thing sometimes. Anyway, the human team in Blood Bowl got better in Blood Bowl 2020 and got worse in no ways at all, which is fantastic. So the human team has remained, for me, a superb competitor in the training a new player up with a new team. The linemen, which are the lowest common denominator, have got the strength, they've got the armor, they've got average agility, they're going to be able to do stuff. So anybody can do anything on this team, essentially. Blitzers are awesome, okay? You've got block and good movement. Catchers have dodge and less strength, okay? They're movement 8, but they've got less strength. So that's actually going to be really important, like, lesson to learn. So if one of you is running Orcs, one of you is running humans, one of you is running Dark Elves, one of you running humans, you are going to learn about strength differential. But more importantly, you're going to learn that actually, if you are lower strength but you have dodge, it's not the worst thing in the world. Being punched is always bad, but actually there's going to be that defensive advantage, and that's a really key lesson as well. But look, the humans have got great blitzers, one of the best throwers in the game, TM. The catchers are really utilitarian. They're going to learn things from using the catchers. You've got average linemen that can do whatever you want. You do also, and this is really interesting, so game 1 with humans, maybe it's just blitzers, thrower, lineman. Okay, that's a great set point. These guys have block, this guy has sure hands and pass, and these linemen just try not to die. Okay, that's a really great starting point. Then you introduce the catcher. This guy's really fast but really quite fragile. Then you introduce a halfling or an ogre, and then it gets really exciting. So the reason for me that the human team is the number 1 team for beginners is because it is so very layered. You start off with lineman, blitzers, and a thrower to show off sure hands and pass. Then you add different elements, and you can play 3 games adding in all this extra stuff, and by the end of it they've got a couple of games under their belt where they know how big guys let you down. They know that stunty guys explode when you look at them, and they know that human blitzers are actually really good. That is the great thing about the human roster, is that you get to just build your own lesson. And if you look at all of these teams that I've listed, for me, the majority of them are flexible to the player type. Okay, Orcs are a good one. They escalate up, actually. Chaos is interesting because if somebody's got a love for trolls or a love for minotaurs, or they want to maim things, Chaos is going to give them what they want. Dark Elves, if a player likes to play a tight control game or likes to be better but more expensive, you've got Dark Elves, and I just think it's a really good mix. Any one of these teams will be a great start for a player beginning with Blood Bowl. Now, That's my top 5. Let's break away and have a look at your top 5. Okay, so I put the post out on the social medias. You guys gave me your top 5s. We gave them points. If you said this team is my number 1, it got 5 points. If you said this team is my number 5, it got 1 point. Then we added it all together and, well, the spreadsheet did it for me. And this is what we have. So, oh, I like this. Your number 5, Skaven teams. Okay, I like that choice. You've got great thrower with sure hands. You've got the gutter runners with dodge and the strength differential. You've got really good linemen, but they are very fragile. And you've got a couple of blitzers there to learn block. You've even got a rat ogre if you want to chuck in the big guy experience. The reason I didn't choose Skaven as on my top 5 is because they are really fragile. And it can be kind of, I think, it can lead to being a bit left out if you fail a couple of dodges and you guys explode. If you block them and a couple of their guys explode. If the Skaven team is left with 8 players going into the second half, which is a regular thing for Skaven, it is going to teach them a lesson, and that lesson may be that, oh my goodness, I need to be very careful with this team. So for me, Skaven are a little bit more of an advanced team. They can do a bunch of great stuff, but that low armor means that they can fall apart a little bit. I think that's why my top 5, they're all really resilient teams, because I think it's going to hurt new players joining the game if they learn that lesson too soon. Let them choose to run that risk. Don't force it upon them. Your number 4 is the Chaos Chosen team, which I think is about where I had Chaos Chosen. Number 5. Fantastic. Really like that. Very simple team, 2 positionals, but you can spice it up with a big guy of their choice, which is a really good way to do it. You've got good strength, you've got great resilience, you've got average ball handling, and you've got the excitement of a big guy. It's a wicked team to start with, and actually you can start with leveling them up and getting them some skills as well, because that's going to help them learn the game. So cool, we played this first game, that was really good. Now you're Chaos Warrior, this one gets block, and this guy gets dodge, and it's a good way to kind of introduce those skills and level up. Your number 3 is Dwarves. Alright, Dwarves. Dwarves were on my shortlist. I played a game of Dwarves in Blood Bowl 2020, end of last year against Ian, and I really enjoyed them. I've got Dwarves everywhere at the moment, and I really like them. For new players, they're not bad. Okay, the ability to 1-die block, the ability to 2-die block with block, and that armor a million is really advantageous for keeping their players around. They've got sure hands, they've got block, they've got some of the best starting elements of the game. The downside is that strength, is that speed 4. If you compare it to most teams in Blood Bowl, that is a massive disadvantage. I know you've got Slayers with Frenzy, which is going to be cool. You've got Blitzers who are good at movement 5. You've got Runners who are movement 6. For me, they are a little bit less forgiving from a ball handling point of view, edge 2 on the lineman, and a movement point of view, meaning that they're going to be 3-4 turns away from scoring most of the time, and I feel like that's a little bit less exciting. However, if someone likes Dwarves, get them a Dwarf team. They will love that control, that resilience, that really good combat element, and yeah, I don't think Dwarves is a bad shout at all. Number 2, it's Orcs. I can't remember if I had Orcs. I think I had Orcs at number 3. Hey, we said it all already. Orcs are a great team. They're very modular. You've got a little bit of everything and a lot of resilience and strength and toughness. If your friend you're bringing into Blood Bowl is an Orc fan from any kind of mythos, the Orc team should entertain them. Cheeky bit of Goblin here, cheeky Troll there, big and blockers, blitzers. They're going to have a great time. If they like to brawl without necessarily punishing themselves too hard on the edge scale, Orcs are great. And your number 1 is the same as my number 1, which is the human team. We went through this already. Humans are great. They're modular. They're good at everything, really. They're resilient. And they're kind of relatable as well. I guess that's another way to do it, is because they look the more sporty. So if you've got a board gamer or a sports fan who's coming into Blood Bowl, they're perhaps a little bit more relatable. And you can still add something exciting with the halflings or with the ogre. You know, there's a ton of cool stuff. Human team, still the number 1, okay? I love it. It's a great shout. Thank you, everybody. So 2 things to mention here. There are a ton of other teams that are just fine for beginners. Lizardmen have got a good split between play styles. Black Orcs have a good split between playstyles without necessarily being punished on the edge scale too much. I had Black Orcs in my shortlist for a little while. Actually. I had those Black Orcs in my shortlist for a while, and I think I bumped them for Undead in the end, because Undead across the board have got, I don't know, a little bit more stuff. I do like the Black Orc team, and definitely a great new start team. And to be honest with you, even though we looked at the old box set versus the new box set, and like Black Orcs have got Brawler and Grab, and the humans have got Fend and Stand Firm, it's really not that much. Most teams are really good to start with, and the Nobility versus Black Orc is a pretty solid place to start learning Blood Bowl. I've been really impressed with both those teams. They're not necessarily too much. They are more than we used to, okay, because the linemen have skills. That's probably the immediate thing. But getting to learn about wrestle and stand firm and block is actually really useful from a Nobility team. Having that strength 4 and strength 2 and some stunty stuff is really good for the Black Orc team as well. They've got strong identity for Black Orcs, and they've got a good mix of skills for the Nobility. So those are really good. But the number one rule, or at least shall we say number 0 on this list, and I was so pleased to see so many people echo this statement in the comments. The best team for a new player in Blood Bowl, most of the time, asterisk, is the team they're interested in. The team they're excited by. You know, they're an Orcs fan. Go for Orcs. They like Wood Elves. You know, it's fine. Like, you can start with simple rosters for any team and have a good game of Blood Bowl. I strongly recommend a game of 7s to teach the mechanics. It's quicker and there's less players. I really do recommend 7s for teaching standard Blood Bowl. Start with a 7s game. If they like it, hey, maybe next time we'll play half of an 11s game. But the thing is, I think I'd rather farm 3 games of 7s with an opponent. You know, start with humans, blitzers and alignment. Then you introduce, you know, the thrower and the catcher. Just boom, boom, boom. You add different elements. Half an hour, 45 minutes a game. They're going to get there really well. You're going to be able to sack it off if they're not interested, which is really important. But you can mix up those teams without it being overwhelming. That's exactly what I did with Tiff when we were on holiday in Tenerife. I took my 7 stuff over there, played Skaven versus Dark Elves. She ran Dark Elves, murdered one of my Skaven turn 1. You know, and it worked really well. It took 45 minutes to an hour to learn that first game, and it worked really well. So the team they like, think about using 7s to teach players or to bring them in, because I think that's a really good way to hook them. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for all your feedback with the top 5s. I love it. I love seeing what you guys are writing, and it's really useful. And I think we've put together a couple of really good lists here, because I don't think... Alright, there's some teams that are better than others, and, you know, I think I'm going to get a little bit of flack for Chaos, but you chose Chaos as well. I don't know. I think whatever they are inspired by, potentially steer them away from more of the complicated stunty teams. Like Halflings are fine. It's a really basic team most of the time. They're going to struggle. But, you know, maybe Snotlings is going to be a bit overwhelming because you're going to have that swarming rule and stuff like that. Snotlings is a challenging team to learn. And we've seen they can be actually quite powerful. But if they want to do Snotlings, that's fine. Just run a thinned out roster. And we'll do it on 7s. Right, guys, I'm going to wrap up now. Thank you ever so much for watching. Happy Easter, and we'll see you again soon for some more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the show even further, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Or come and join us in our Patreon, link below, where you get early access to our content and monthly competitions. See you later.